Hi, team, and welcome to our next screencast on how the United States is going to respond on the home front to the attack at Pearl Harbor. We're going to be looking at how the United States starts to prepare for a two-front war. We're not only going to be fighting against the Japanese in the Pacific, but we also, now that we've joined an alliance, have to prepare for ourselves to fight over in Europe as well against the Germans and against the Italians. Okay. So there's going to be a lot of support from obviously Britain looking at the United States entering into this war. Winston Churchill refers to the United States as an industrial power, right? Once a fire has been lit under it, there's no limit to the power it can generate. The United States is going to completely change over, just like they did in World War I, to change the industry, to change what's produced, how it's produced, what's being said within our home front, to make sure that everything we're doing is total war preparation to fight and defeat our enemy. All right. So France, we know, has fallen to Germany, and FDR is concerned about making sure everything is safe for democracy, and that we are going to make sure not only Britain is safe, but also that the United States is safe. So FDR has started to increase his production. He started to create more warplanes. We're making about 50,000 warplanes a year. He's asked Congress for $4 billion budget to build a two-ocean navy. He wants to make sure that we're able to compete not only in the Atlantic, but also in the Pacific, especially after what's happened to us at Pearl Harbor. So the defense budget is also going to increase to about $17 billion. All right. On the home front, we need to start to find a way to give Americans an incentive to start to produce again. We're coming out of the Great Depression, and people need money in order to start up their businesses. So FDR comes up with a plan known as Cost Plus, and this is going to be run by the National Defense Advisory Committee. It's a group that's going to mobilize the economy, right? Making sure that business is moving forward. So the National Defense Advisory Committee is kind of like the opening umbrella of making sure our economy is stimulated, our businesses are moving. One of the programs that the NDAC is going to be overlooking is Cost Plus. So Cost Plus is basically that the government is going to give a business the incentive to create, right? And by doing so, they're going to loan them money, and they're going to allow these companies to convert to war production. So if you were making cars before, we want you to start making Jeeps. If you were making clothing for social attire, now we need you making uniforms. So they're going to let companies borrow that money so that they can create what we need for war. The government then is not only going to buy those products from them, but they're also going to pay for, they're paying for the cost, as well as they're also the purchase. So it's cost plus because we're paying for the cost of the materials, we're allowing them to borrow the money so that they can get started, plus we are going to be purchasing the materials as the government to use these materials during a time of war. So it's a win-win situation. You've got enough money to get started, and you know that what you're creating is going to be purchased. So that's the plus piece, that we're buying the merchandise that's being created to make sure that these companies are also going to be make sure that they're going to be making money. And that's the biggest thing. All right. So Ford's assembly line is going to completely change over. You can see the list there of the different types of things that Ford is going to be creating. It's about speed over quality. We need to build things as quickly as possible. We want to make sure they're safe, but it's not about the nitty-gritty details. We need to get things out to war, ready to go to support our troops. So we're going to be using the War Production Board, which is going to be the group that's going to set the priorities of like what's being produced, what the goals are for the production. And the Office of War Mobilization is going to be the group that's overseeing the production. They're going to be the ones that are settling the arguments between the military and the War Production Board. All right. So if the military makes a request, they need more guns, the War Production Board is going to set the priorities and actually produce it. And then the Office of War Mobilization is there in case the military asks for more than can be produced, or whatever the conflict might be. They're going to be overseeing and making sure that everything is set there. Okay. So we have to also create an army at home. We need to make sure that we've got people who can go to war. So we're going to have a peacetime draft, and we're going to be looking at how we're going to create GIs so that we can have soldiers who are going to go off and actually fight. So we're going to end here and come back and talk about our army next time that we meet. All right. Have a great night.